Apple was dying in 1997. Steve Jobs, the co-founder who was ousted in a boardroom coup a decade earlier, was brought back as interim CEO. Analysts called it a desperate gamble. Many predicted Apple's imminent demise, writing off Jobs as a relic of the past. Jobs immediately slashed product lines, killing the Newton and dozens of other projects. He cleared the deadwood. Then came the unthinkable. Jobs forged an alliance with Microsoft. Bill Gates invested $150 million in Apple. The Think Different campaign launched, featuring rebels like Einstein and Gandhi. It redefined Apple's brand as creative and bold. Jobs introduced the iMac, a radical all-in-one computer with a translucent blue case. It looked like nothing else. Within a year, Apple returned to profitability, shocking the tech world. The iMac became the best-selling computer in America. The iMac sold 2 million units in its first year. Apple was no longer dying. It was reborn. Jobs' comeback is considered one of the greatest turnarounds in business history. But how did a man once fired for his arrogance become the savior? The answer lies in a series of risky bets that defied conventional wisdom. Each move was a calculated gamble. This is the story of how a man once rejected by his own company returned to save it. A story of risk, vision, and redemption. Before the comeback, there was the fall. In 1976, Steve Jobs co-founded Apple with Steve Wozniak in a cramped garage. Fueled by ambition and little else, the Apple II launched in 1977, becoming a runaway success. By age 25, Jobs was a millionaire, but his hunger for perfection was just beginning. That perfectionism, however, bred conflict. Jobs' abrasive style clashed with the board, who saw a visionary they could not control. In 1983, Jobs lured John Scully from Pepsi with a legendary challenge. Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? The Macintosh launched in 1984 with a stunning Super Bowl ad, but its revolutionary interface failed to win commercial hearts. Jobs' obsessive control over every detail caused delays and budget overruns. The board grew impatient with his uncompromising vision. In 1985, the board sided with Scully. Jobs was stripped of all power, forced out of the company he had founded. He sold his Apple shares and founded Next, a high-end workstation company. But Next struggled, burning through cash with little market success. Simultaneously, Jobs acquired Pixar from Lucasfilm for $10 million. He poured millions into animation. A risky bet that could have bankrupted him. Pixar's first film, Toy Story, was a gamble. If it failed, Jobs would have lost everything. But it became a landmark success. By the way, if you like this discussion, don't forget to subscribe. There are many more interesting topics coming up. Lightbulb. These failures and near failures taught Jobs hard lessons. He learned to simplify, focus, and trust his instincts, skills he would later use to save Apple. By the time he returned to Apple in 1997, Jobs was no longer the brash young founder. He was a battle-hardened leader, ready for the greatest comeback in business history. In 1997, Apple's product line was a mess. Dozens of variants confused customers and drained resources. Jobs walked into a meeting and drew a simple 2x2 grid. For products, no more. This radical simplification let Apple pour all its energy into just 4 machines. Focus became their weapon. Jobs personally killed the Newton, a project he once loved. It was bleeding money with no future. He then called Microsoft's Bill Gates, a stunning alliance that shocked the tech world. Microsoft invested $150 million in Apple. They also dropped their patent lawsuits. The Think Different campaign launched, celebrating rebels like Einstein and Gandhi. It redefined Apple's soul. Jobs obsessed over the iMac's design. He insisted on a translucent blue case, unlike any computer before. He removed the floppy disk drive. Critics called it insane, but Jobs saw the future of USB. Setting up the iMac was simple. 1 cord for power, 1 for internet, no more tangled cables. The iMac's startup chime, a friendly hello, became iconic, signaled a new era for Apple.
Jobs didn't just save Apple with products, he transformed its brand into a symbol of creativity and rebellion.
The iMac was a hit, but Apple's troubles were far from over. The year 2000 brought a new crisis. The dot-com bubble burst, wiping out billions in value. Apple's stock plummeted, losing over 70%. Jobs' health became a ticking time bomb. In 2003, he was diagnosed with a rare pancreatic cancer. He chose alternative treatments over surgery, delaying the inevitable. Investors grew nervous and anxious. The iPod launched in 2001, but early sales were modest. Critics called it a niche gadget. Apple's computer market share hovered around 3%. Windows dominated, leaving Apple as an also-ran. Jobs' perfectionism created a toxic environment. High turnover plagued the company. With many talented employees leaving, the Apple Store concept was ridiculed. Experts predicted it would drain cash and fail spectacularly. In 2004, Jobs finally underwent surgery, but his health remained fragile. A constant worry, the iPhone project was shrouded in secrecy. The pressure to deliver was immense. With Jobs driving his team relentlessly, any misstep could have undone the turnaround. Apple was walking a tightrope without a safety net. Looking for affordable audio? Check out the Realme Lima Null headset at just 6,800 rupiah. Link in description. The risky bet to bring Steve Jobs back to Apple in 1997 seemed insane to analysts. Yet it became the defining moment in corporate history. Jobs proved that a leader once fired for arrogance could return with humility and sharper instincts, turning failure into fuel. The iPod, iPhone, and iPad didn't just succeed. They shattered entire industries, from music to telecommunications, reshaping modern life. Apple's market capitalization soared past $2 trillion, making it the most valuable company on earth. A monument to vision, Jobs' obsession with design and user experience became the gold standard, forcing competitors to rethink their entire approach to technology. His famous mantra, "Stay hungry, stay foolish," inspired millions to embrace risk and creativity, echoing far beyond Silicon Valley. The gamble of bringing Jobs back paid off beyond imagination, turning a near-bankrupt company into a global powerhouse. But Jobs' legacy isn't just products. It's a philosophy of innovation, excellence, and relentless pursuit of perfection. He showed the world that failure is not the end but a stepping stone to greatness. A lesson etched in every Apple device. The story of Apple's rescue is a testament to conviction and resilience, proving that one person's vision can change everything. Jobs' life reminds us that the greatest comebacks often start with the biggest risks. A truth that resonates in every boardroom. Today, Apple continues to thrive, a living monument to one man's audacious vision, forever changing how we live and work. Hi there. If you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe. Smiling face with smiling eyes, subscribe now before the next video. We have a special upload tomorrow. High voltage.